13 WMAZ Morning starts now.
Well, it's no secret that it has been a very active past 24 hours. We'll recap what happened and look ahead into a very cold holiday weekend.
Well, 13th. Thank you so much for starting your morning with us. I'm Wanye Reese. Thankfully, Alex, we didn't see any severe weather damage right here in our area, but I mean, just as north, I believe that's Spalding County and Griffin. They saw a lot of damage there.
That's right. And across central Georgia, we saw downed trees in sporadic areas, but we are going to be looking for in the days ahead any tornado confirmation. Just a few areas to point out: Hancock County, the far northeastern part of Hancock County, watching to see if the National Weather Service will confirm that. Parts of Dodge County near the Rhine area, they're going to be surveying that, and then we're going to watch for any more reports through the day today. But yes, Griffin and Spalding County, which is 15-20 miles north of Monroe County, certainly took the brunt of it yesterday. 50 now in Macon, 51 in Warner Robins, 52 in Dublin, 50 in Perry as we look live over downtown, 49 in Gordon, 49 in Eastman. And through the day today, our temperatures are going to just continue to drop. We're not actually going to warm up, like I say, into the, if you start at 50, you get into 70. No, we're going to be talking about 50s and 40s all day long. Some mixed precipitation back into Tennessee and North Carolina this morning. So your school bus forecast today, talking about 40s this morning and 40s this afternoon. So 49 at the bus stop and 48 when you head home from school. But we will have plenty of sunshine to go around. Temperature today, this afternoon, right around 47. So the high is occurring overnight, but we will be hanging around in the 40s today. So it's one of those weird days, right? We will get back into the 50s this weekend, though. However, Saturday morning, even though we'll have an overnight low of 31, we are talking wind chills in the 20s. We'll take a look exactly how cold we'll go on Future View in just a few moments.
We're coming up on 5:09 here on this Friday morning. I was laying down in bed, Alex, getting ready to take a good old nap, and that 13 app went off, and it said, You're under a tornado warning. I turned on the TV, and Ben said, go to your safe place, and that's exactly what I did. So that app, it's saving lives.
And it was right about 2:45 yesterday in Macon when that happened, and then we had warnings throughout the night. So we ended up being on from 2 to about 4, and then we came back on about 4:30, 4:45, and stayed on until 8 last night. So yes, it was a night to be had, that's for sure. Luckily, we avoided the worst of it. That would happen just to our north, but still several areas in central Georgia, at least cleaning up after what damage we did see in a few spots. Looking live over downtown, it is cold now outside. We're talking about temperatures falling into the 40s as we speak. So today, one of these weird days where it's actually warmer right now than it's going to be later on this afternoon. The radar is spinning around from Jeffersonville and it is taking a break because it was busy yesterday and it is no longer looking for anything out there in central Georgia. But over the past 24 hours, there's Storm 1, there goes the main line. It was a very active evening. So this first, the warning we got in Macon, the reason why your phones went off here, that was one of those storms that formed out ahead of the main line. I was talking about how those were able to rotate yesterday morning, and then the main line came through and we had sporadic warnings along that as well. Now all of that is down off the Atlantic coast and is history for us. And check this out. Back into northern Georgia, parts of northern Alabama, some mixed precipitation this morning. That is going to stay up there. That is not a concern for us here in central Georgia. Now, through the day today, it is going to be cold. So we're talking about temperatures in the 40s at 5 p.m. Keep in mind, we're at 50 right now, so 45 here in Macon by about 5 p.m. Into the overnight hours. Temperatures falling down into the 30s. I'm thinking we get down to 31 here in Macon before we warm up to 50 tomorrow. But we'll take a look at the wind chills in a minute because that's actually what matters. And then into the night for Sunday morning, talking about temperatures going even colder than that before we rebound into the mid-50s. But when we're talking about these feels-like temperatures, here we are at 11 a.m. today. Feels like 37 in Macon, feels like 35 in Forsyth. Then into the afternoon, we're going to feel like the upper 30s and low 40s through majority of the day with sustained winds 10 to 15, gusting to 25 miles an hour. And into the overnight hours, how about this? Mid to low 20s is what it's going to feel like when you walk outside at 6 a.m. on Saturday. So if you're like me, you're headed up to UGA tomorrow early in the morning. You're going to be running into some really cold air here in central Georgia. We will rebound during the afternoon, though. In terms of any weather impacts, we are smooth sailing through the weekend on into Monday. Some increased cloud cover, maybe a shower or two on Tuesday, but no concern, no severe weather concern there. So cold now, but it will be warmer later in the week. We'll make it back to 67 by the time we get to Tuesday. And as I alluded to, if you're headed to Athens for the National Championship Parade and the program going on at Sanford Stadium, it is going to be a cold afternoon and windy. 44 when the parade starts at 12:30, 47 for the program at 2, and 48 later on in the afternoon. Sunset there is at 5:46. As for today here in central Georgia, again, one of these weird days with temperatures in the 40s throughout the majority of the day. And here comes the 7-day forecast, which shows you the warming trend into next week. A 30% chance of rain on Tuesday, and then it does look like we will have another round of storms by the time we get to next Thursday.
It's now 5:16. Alex, how's it feeling out there?
Wanya, you're going to walk outside and notice it is colder across central Georgia and only getting colder through the day ahead. We'll talk about that and what to expect for the holiday weekend coming up.
5:19. Well, it's Friday the 13th. 13 is seen as an unlucky number, but here at 13, it comes straight from the heart, Alex.
Yeah, that's right. But here's some interesting station history. 13's original owners created TV the Cat to make fun of the unlucky 13 superstition back in the station's early days after signing on in 1953.
TV appeared on station memorabilia like this paperweight and station IDs in the early days and immediately became a beloved mascot of Channel 13's viewers. So it's all very interesting. I know I meet some viewers and they're like, do you know about 13 the Cat? But that was before our time.
And it's also really fun for us. So like when you walk in our building up here, there's like a little museum with a bunch of old stuff and the cats all over the place. And it's always interesting to see like what stations did in the past because so many of these TV stations have such a long history. And I believe 13's coming up on 70 years.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. We've come a long way. But let's go ahead and get to the weather, man. There's a lot to talk about.
There is. I mean, it's going to be weather whiplash. Made it to 76 yesterday. Picked up about an inch of rain, which keeps us up on the year. The average high is 59. We were only 2 degrees away from breaking a record, and obviously we saw all the storms that came right along with it. Meanwhile, this morning, those storms, they are gone. We've got cold air settling in, and we've got low 20s for wind chills on the way through the night tonight. Out there on the radar picture, nothing to talk about this morning, and we're seeing temperatures in the 40s and 50s. Now, today going to be one of these weird days where we see 50 in Macon right now, 51 in Warner Robins. When we're talking a few hours from now, say 9, 10 o'clock, we're going to be talking about mid to upper 40s, and then through the afternoon, mid 40s. So what we are seeing right now is likely going to be the high temperature for the day across central Georgia. Look back up into northern Georgia, northern Alabama, and certainly into the Nashville area. Some mixed precip this morning. In fact, a winter weather advisory in effect for parts of northern Georgia. That is not a concern for us here in central Georgia. So as we play Future View forward, you're going to see some wintry stuff up to the northwest. Again, that is not a concern for us. Our temperatures are going to be firmly in the 40s today. We're not going to be some 10 degrees warmer than the freezing mark at the coldest spots in Forsyth and Thomaston. And then once we get into the overnight hours, this is when the temperatures will get closer to freezing. I'm forecasting an overnight low of 31 in Macon tomorrow morning before we rebound into the 50s tomorrow afternoon. Now that 31 is not going to be telling the whole story. We're going to throw in the wind chill factor as well, and that is when we could get wind chills as cold as mid to low 20s walking out the door Saturday morning. Meanwhile, today, not a whole wide range in the temperatures. 45 at 8, 48 at noon, 48 at 2. So our high temperature occurring now, and we're going to be in the 40s for the rest of the day. Then for Saturday, how about 52 after an overnight low of 31 with those cold wind chills, and then 57 on Sunday. The actual air temperature a bit colder, down to 27. Then into next week, we got 61 on Saturday, 67 on Tuesday. Hello, southerly wind. Here comes the 60s and 70s once again. It looks like we are in store for another round of storms come next Thursday.
WMAZ Morning starts now.
It's now a nice morning in Perry after a bumpy ride yesterday. We'll talk about the cold weather on the way for the overnight hours and how low the wind chills will go.
All of here on this January the 13th, we've made it to the end of the work week, halfway through the work week for those folks who have to work on the weekends. I'm Wanya Reese. Thank you so much for staying with us. Alex, how's the weather going to be looking for folks this morning?
Yeah, Wanya, it's going to be noticeably different from yesterday across central Georgia. A cold start this morning as we look live over downtown, and it's only going to get colder through the day. So compared to where we were yesterday, made it to 76. Now we're all the way down to 50, 51 in Warner Robins, 51 in Dublin, 49 in Perry and Milledgeville, and the majority of the day today is going to be spent in the 40s. So these 50s not going to be staying on the map for long. Up to the north, still seeing some wraparound moisture from this front, some mixed precipitation, North Carolina, Tennessee. That is going to stay up there. That is not a concern for us here in central Georgia. But as I alluded to through the day today, you can see we're going to be talking about mid to upper 40s through at least the morning hours, and then into the afternoon, not much different. Our highest temperature, I'm thinking, is going to be about 47. Technically, our high temperature for the day will have happened right about now or during the overnight hours. Otherwise, we will be in the 40s for the remainder of the day. So your weekend forecast, we got 52 on Saturday, 57 on Sunday. Saturday morning, though, is going to be a very cold start. I know that says 31, but we'll take a look at those wind chill values and how low those will go coming out. And don't forget to download the 13 WMAZ app. You can download it on the Apple App Store, on Google Play. As Wanya said earlier, it was a great resource. It alerted you to the severe weather yesterday. You can also scan the QR code that is on your screen right now, and whenever severe weather threatens, we'll be sure to let you know through the app.
Thank you so much for that, Alex. Well, severe weather in central Georgia brought lots of damage, and a sighting of the time is now 5:39 here on this Friday the 13th. I mean, man, Alex, shout out to you, Ben, and Jordan. Y'all were on for quite some time yesterday, but much needed information in keeping everybody safe.
Well, and I always like to tell people this is what we do. We do the everyday stuff, but when it comes to the severe weather, this is what we practice for the most and what we care about the most. And now we are on the flip side of it, and we are fortunate for that. Waking up colder across central Georgia than we were yesterday. In fact, much colder. Now 50 in Macon, 51 in Warner Robins, 48 in Eastman, 49 in Rochelle, and 49 in Sparta here on this Friday morning. The radar is taking a break as well. Shout out to the radar working overtime yesterday. All the showers and storms that rolled through, it took from about, say, 2, 3 in the afternoon with that first wave of rain until about 9, 10 o'clock to get the last of the main line out of here. So I think the timing from yesterday's forecast worked out pretty well. And what we saw, luckily, we avoided the worst of it. It happened just to our north. So just for perspective, we've been talking about the tornado in Griffin. Griffin is right here. This is Spalding County, and Monroe County is right here. It's only about 20 miles from the city of Forsyth. So that's how close it was to us here in central Georgia. So now the showers down off the Atlantic coast and moving away, and we're not going to be talking about those anymore. So through the day today, temperatures actually hanging out in the 40s. It's warmer right now outside than what it's going to feel like later on this afternoon. 45 in Macon there, right around 6. Into the 30s tonight. We'll take a look at the wind chills in just a moment, but those 30s not telling the whole story. Back to 50 tomorrow afternoon. No weather concern for your Saturday, just on the cooler side of things. And then for Sunday morning, temperatures down below freezing. Now, the feels like temperatures, this is what's going to matter here. So through the day today, here we are at 11 a.m. Feels like 35 in Forsyth, 37 in Macon, 38 in Warner Robins. Certainly going to want to grab a jacket, maybe 2, as you head to work and school this morning. And then during the afternoon, we're going to feel like the 30s through the majority of the day. Into the night tonight, talking about temperatures falling down, feels like temperatures falling down in the mid to low 20s, waking up to it feeling like 21 in Forsyth, 21 in Thomaston, 22 in Butler. So not the coldest air of the season, but still cold nonetheless. Then once we get into Saturday, it will begin to warm back up here in central Georgia. On into next week, we are smooth sailing for the first part of the week. It's not until about Tuesday or so where we get another rain chance in here. And then it looks like our next weather system looks to arrive by the time we get to next Thursday. Now, tomorrow also a big day up in Athens. It is going to be a cold day as well. The temperatures in the 40s, plenty of sun to go around, but we are going to be talking about a cold start. 44 for the parade at 12:30 for the national champion Dogs, and the program at 2 at Sanford Stadium, a temperature of 47. Here comes the 7-day forecast, warming up in the days ahead. Back to 61 on Monday, 67 on Tuesday, and how about 70s by the middle part of next week? But as the saying goes, it is still January. When we have 70s, there's a price to pay. We'll do that on Thursday with more storms. And today, one of those weird days. So it's warmer outside right now than what it's going to be later on this afternoon. Temperatures in the 40s, but notice that wind out of the northwest, 10 to 20 miles an hour. It is going to feel like the 30s outside today across central Georgia. Then for tomorrow morning, an overnight low of 31. But waking up and walking out the door on your Saturday morning, you're going to want a big jacket because the wind chills are going to make that 31 feel like the mid to low 20s across central Georgia before we get back into the 50s later on in the afternoon. But then into next week, we will begin to warm back up, right back to 70, and you know the rule. 70 in January, you got to pay the price somewhere.
Exactly. Chance of storms, right?
Chance of storms on Thursday.
Well, we're coming up on 6 o'clock. More details on your top stories. And, of course, Alex has you covered on your forecast.
Stay with us, Central Georgia.